And to shed more light on this issue, we are delighted to be joined over the phone by Ms. Monica William, the international relations expert. Good evening, Ms. Monica.
Good evening. Thank you for having me.
And thank you for joining us. It's always a pleasure having you with us. So during a meeting with his Saudi counterpart, Prince Faisal bin Farhan in Riyadh, Foreign Minister Badr Abdelati stressed Egypt's categorical rejection of the attacks on Saudi Arabia and the Arab Gulf states. So how do you assess the statement made by the top diplomat?
Of course, if we try to discuss or tackle with that statement or the visit of Foreign Minister Badr Abdelati to Qatar, which aimed rising regional tensions linked to the war with Iran, which reflects an active diplomatic effort to contain escalation and, of course, try to prevent the region from sliding into a wider and uncontrollable conflict, choosing, of course, Doha to as a key stop to these negotiations. And of course, it's the first one, and the negotiations, it's a communication challenge between parties with the ability to facilitate indirect dialogue and convey political security message. Of course, this meeting go beyond the bilateral relations, and of course, diplomatic moves also to reflect the growing awareness among regional and international actors which try to continue military escalation could lead to serious economic and security consequences, as we follow up last 2 weeks, and tensions in the Strait of Hormuz and the risk of targeting energy infrastructure, which increase concern among energy importing countries and the trend global market stability. And from another perspective, the tour of the Minister of Foreign Affairs carry a clear and very critical and important political message. The first one is managing major crisis cannot rely solely on military tools. He tries to, by his statements and by this tour, to ensure this aspect, and it acquires prior diplomatic track that help which reduce, of course, tension and open the door for gradual solution, especially that recent history in the Middle East shows that many conflicts have ended through indirect arrangements received by similar diplomatic efforts focused on message exchange, testing position, and, of course, building common ground for broader agreements.
So, Ms. Monica, during the meeting with Secretary General of the Gulf Cooperation Council, Jassim Al-Badawi, Minister of Foreign Affairs Abdelati stressed Egypt's firm support for the stability and security of Gulf countries as its a main pillar and an integral part of Egypt's national security. So how do you assess Egypt's stance, a constant stance on supporting the Arab security?
Of course, it's not the recent or the first situation or stand from Egypt in this regard. Egypt, of course, tried to importance of Gulf stability, which reflects a broader and deeply rooted principle in Egypt's foreign policy. And the security of the Gulf is part of the security of the wider Arab region. And this position, as we mentioned, ground in geopolitical realities, economic interdependence, and, of course, Egypt's long-standing role as a center stabilizing actor in the Middle East. And from the another side and the strategic standpoint, Egypt views that the Gulf as a critical pillar of regional balance. So any instability in Gulf countries, whether through military escalation or threats to energy infrastructure or disruption to maritime routes, of course, has a direct implication for regional security and global economic stability. Of course, we actually touch this impact and this effect. And of course, the evidence on this sensitivity of a key Strait of Hormuz, where tensions can quickly translate into higher energy prices and disrupted trade flows. So Egypt's role can be understood through a multidimensional approach. First, Egypt positions itself as a political actor that supports collective Arab security frameworks from the history and by consequently emphasize the protection of Gulf states, Egypt reinforced the idea of unified regional front against external threats and destabilizing action. And the second pillar is Egypt play a very active role amid the escalation. As we see, Gaza peace ceasefire is very important, and of course, Egypt is trying to manage crisis through communication, mediation, and coordination with regional and international partners.
Yes, Ms. Monica, do you think the Egyptian diplomacy has more to do in ending the current escalation in the region?
Of course, Egypt tried to, as we mentioned, it's very important, and Egypt's role shaped by its geographic position and political weight, and it operates as bridge between different regional threats, linked development in the Gulf and Red Sea and Eastern Mediterranean. So it allows Egypt to engage in multiple tracks, and whether through diplomatic outreach, security coordination, or economic partnership. And on the other side, we can talk about the Egypt tour or Egypt procedures in nowadays as attempt to develop a model of mutual containment along each party to perceive certain political or military gains without escalating into full-scale war. So the goal of diplomacy here is not necessarily to end the conflict immediately, but to manage escalation and keep it within control limits until more stable political conditions emerge.
So Egypt has always stressed on the importance of protecting international navigation and maintaining stability of energy prices. So what's your take on this?
Of course, Egypt, one of the economics that affected by this issues, as we mentioned, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi from 2 days that Egypt lost around approximately $10 billion due to the Suez Canal, of course. And nowadays, Egypt is working to safeguard maritime navigation and ensure the importance of energy stability.
Thank you so much, Ms. Monica William, the international relations expert. And ladies and gentlemen, we'll have a short break and we'll be right back. By this, ladies and gentlemen, we come to the end of tonight's edition of Newsroom Live. Thank you for watching and stay tuned for more.